You're listening to Adoptees On, the podcast where adoptees discuss the adoption experience. This is Season 2, Episode 1, Kelley. I'm your host, Haley Radke, and I am so happy to be back with you for Season 2. I have several exciting announcements for you today, so let's start with the first one. We are going to get to talk every single Friday. I have a new series called Adoptees on Healing, where I chat with different adoptee therapists and they give us practical tips and strategies to work on just different aspects of healing in our lives. And I have learned so much already from recording just a couple of these. So make sure you subscribe to the show. And next Friday, you can expect an Adoptees on Healing episode in your podcast feed because we will be just alternating back and forth, one with an interview with an adoptee and then to the healing episodes. Also, we are starting a secret Facebook group for partners of the show, and I will tell you how you can access that after our interview with Kelley. Kelley is a fellow adoptee whose picture you may have seen pop up in your own Facebook feed. We talk about what a public social media search looks like and the toll it can take on your relationships. And today we have a giveaway in our recommended resources segment, which is a little bit unconventional. So you can listen for that later in the show. As always, links to everything we're going to talk about today are on our website, adopteeson.com. Okay, that's enough with the chit chat. Let's listen in. I'm pleased to welcome as our first guest of Season 2, Kelley Baumgartner. Welcome to Adoptees On, Kelley.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to dive right in. Why don't you share your story with us?
Okay, well, I am 29 years old, and I live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I met my birth mother 2 years ago, and just trying to find the way through it right now. I did a social media poster on Facebook, and it went viral with over 200,000 shares within 15 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind.
200,000?
Over 200,000 shares. My search lasted only 44 days, and it's still circulating. I still get emails to this day about it.
I'm kind of in shock. I didn't realize it was like that viral.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it whatsoever. To be honest, my mom and I, when we did the poster, we just kind of thought it would just be family and friends. We're kind of scattered through Ohio and Indiana, a few in Colorado, one in Hawaii, and we really just thought that was going to be it. We didn't go in with a lot of high hopes.
What do you think made it go viral? I've seen lots of these posts before.
I couldn't tell you. I've seen them a lot too. I even share them myself, and never in a million years would I've ever thought. Yahoo Parenting reached out to me, Associated Press. There was one journalist, Danielle. She was amazing, and she was the first person to write my story. And her story got picked up by Associated Press and everyone else. We were invited onto the Steve Harvey show, which we eventually declined to do just for personal reasons. But just the way that she wrote the story, I think I give her a lot of credit because she really took the time and captivated everything that needed to be said to this woman that I didn't know at the time. And from there, it kind of just took off.
So what did your poster say?
It says, my name is Kelley, and I was born in Goshen, Elkhart, Indiana in 1987. I gave a lot of information, but I did keep 2 secrets back. When we're adopted, of course, we're only given that one sheet of paper. And I have held on to that my entire life. And I looked at it every single year as if something else was going to change on it. And so I wrote, the information that I had about her. She was a hairdresser, and she was in her early 20s. And she lived in Goshen. I was relinquished at birth. I didn't let anybody know, but like a journalist, that I had extra information regarding my adoption that I wasn't going to share publicly. And that kind of weeded out the good and the bad.
What were some of the responses you got?
It was a lot of good, but with the good comes the bad too. There was a lot of negative. I got some very nasty emails from even birth mothers that how could I do that? They couldn't believe it. people were upset because my story was picked up by so many news outlets and theirs wasn't. They had failed attempts. But the good responses, I mean, there were so many people that were willing to help me. Thousands of people in these emails that my mom and I had gone through. And it was just an amazing outpour of love. Like, just from, not even from an adoption community. I mean, from total strangers. And I'm actually still friends with several of them that helped me through it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm kind of dumbfounded. I mean, I knew this is how you found your birth mother, but I just, what, do you know anything about this phenomenon of making a poster and posting it? Do you know when that kind of started?
So years ago, one of my nursing friends told me that locally here in Jacksonville, Florida, one of her good friends had made a poster and posted it on Facebook. Granted, she had a lot more information that most of us do not have. And it just circulated when Facebook first came about. And it was a very quick search. I think it maybe took her 2 or 3 weeks to find her birth mother. And we joked about it years ago. And I, just thought, okay, well, what the heck? What's it going to hurt this time? And I did it. And I just wasn't expecting it to actually work. It was literally, we were sitting at brunch 2 days before my birthday. And I just told my mom, I said, this is what I want to do. I'm ready to move on. I needed to move on. And this was how I was going to do it. She was either going to come forward, I was going to find her, or I was going to just let it go.
And so your adoptive mom helped you do the poster and stuff?
She did. My dad and I mean, we all three did.
Okay.
My parents are my best friends. I couldn't have done it without them. They've always been supportive of me in my search. And my older brother is also adopted. We're 5 years apart, and he was the first adoptee. And we have 2 very different stories. He has nothing to do. He doesn't want to know any information. He's completely content. And I have always been the curious cat in my family. So they knew that one of us was going to do it. And my mom knew at a very young age that I was going to be the one to do it. And they've never, ever held me back.
Did they encourage you to search, or they just...
I think she did encourage me in a way. And when we started it, I even called her every single day. I said, are you okay? I mean, I can stop now. We can delete it. Let's take it down. Like, I was more nervous of how she would feel because, like I said, my mom is my absolute best friend in life. And she says, no, let's do it. Let's keep going. In every interview, she was there with me. She interviewed, and I mean, it was just something that we did together.
I feel like it's really common for adoptees to be very concerned about feelings of adoptive parents. You've probably heard us talk about that on the show before.
Yes, I have.
So I'm hearing that a little bit, but she sounds so positive about it. That's really wonderful.
My mom is amazing.
That's awesome. So you have really good support there.
Yeah, my dad is the quiet one in the family, so I was pretty, nervous about how he was going to react. And, he kind of keeps his feelings to himself most of the time. But with this, he was, overly encouraging. Like, they were just as excited with me.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. The search and reunion brings up a lot of things often for adoptive parents. So I'm really glad for you. Okay, so let's kind of move on and let's talk about how your birth mother saw the post and connected with you. How did that happen?
About 30 days after I posted, it had gone through most of the news sites in Indiana and the surrounding states. When she did reach out to me, she said that I saw your post a few weeks ago and I had to sit on it. And she just kind of had to gather herself, I'm assuming. But she said she was scrolling through Facebook one day and she never reads this stuff. She said, I saw a woman's face and it was your face and I knew it. She said, I didn't even have to read the poster. I saw your face and I knew what this was. And that was one of the first sentences that she emailed me.
Well, that's pretty special.
Yeah, looking back now through the emails, it's a lot to take in, and it's still a lot to think about today.
Mm-hmm. And what about that waiting period for her? How does that make you feel?
At first, when I first got the email, I was actually driving and I heard my phone go off. And I was at a red light and I looked down at the notification and I had the banner at the time. And I get this email and it says, I'm 99.9% sure I'm your birth mother. And I had to pull over on the side of the road. Like I had to pull over and I had to just gather myself. And I says, no, I'm not going to open this. I'm going to go home. And I got home and I read it and I called my mom immediately. And I said, you're not going to believe this. And I went through at least 20 different emotions at one time. But one of the most outstanding emotions was anger, because in that first email, she told me that absolutely no one knew about me, that her husband didn't even know about me. And as the email started flowing in, I got a little bit more information. And she had to wait to email me so she could tell her husband about me. So that's how that began.
I don't know if I've shared this before, but I found my birth father on Facebook. Not by holding up a poster, but I was fortunate enough to have his name when I got my identifying information. I wonder about that time period where it's like, are you deciding again if you want to keep me? Those are the thoughts and feelings that come up for me in that.
That was exactly how I felt. And then she emailed me while she was in Mexico on vacation with her family. So I'm still not understanding that part. I've heard a few different stories of timelines and how she told people, so I'm still trying to gather all of that. But from what she told me in the beginning was she found out before they went to Mexico. And then she told her husband before. And then she decided to email me while she was on vacation because she had been following my story. And she saw that I had petitioned the court. And she didn't want me to find out that way. So that was that.
And have you met her in person?
I did. We met about 6 months later. We met Mother's Day weekend that year. And she flew to Florida with my brother that I met. I have a younger brother, and I also have a sister, and we're less than a year apart. And so that was a lot to handle at one time. My mom went with me to the airport, and we did it that way, and it was more comfortable. I was very nervous. I felt like this was a first date, and, what if I say something to screw it up? And we had been talking essentially every single day. So I was very, very nervous if I was going to screw it up. She was not going to like me. And I was still getting to know the fact that I had a brother and sister. And they had just found out about me, a few months prior. She and I had corresponded for a good few months before she ever told the rest of the family.
And your brother and sister, they would have been in their 20s?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they were adults.
They both are.
Yeah.
Yes. And they were, from what I understand, they were really upset with her for a while.
How do you tell your kids that,
In her shoes, I can't imagine being in them. And having a sister that's less than a year apart from me, I think it took a huge toll on my sister. So I sympathize with them, and her. How do you keep such a big secret? That's 28 years of buried secrets there.
How is your reunion going now?
It's going. After the first time we met, it was really hard. It was only for 3 days. And we had a lot, packed into one weekend. And I felt at that instant, I felt a part of someone. I could look at her and I could see the similarities. I look at my brother and I see my son. I look at my daughter and I see my sister. They all look so much alike. That was amazing to me. And it was really awesome weekend. We all had a great time. After that, communication kind of fell apart. she's busy in the RV company, and it's very big up north. And so she's always working, which I understand. I was still trying to maneuver through the relationship I wanted and to see what she wanted. And having the social media took a little bit of a burden on us in our relationship, and her telling friends and other family about me. So it was a 6-month kind of roller coaster, and we went back up there in the spring. Well, it was more of the summer. I went for my uncle that I had never met's wedding up there. We stayed 2 weeks with her, and it was probably like 12 days too long. It was really hard, and it was hard. That time up there was really hard.
What made things difficult?
We went to a wedding. I met all of my cousins. All 6 of my aunt and uncles were there, and they didn't know. We have a feeling that one aunt knew about me, but she had passed away a few years before me finding my birth mother. But meeting all of those people at one time was so overwhelming, and I don't feel that she understood that it might have been a little too much. So she didn't understand where I was having anxiety. I had a lot of panic attacks. I kind of took it out on my husband because he's like, "Oh, it's okay." I'm like, "No, you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand how I feel." And he was really trying to sympathize with me, but it was just too much all at one time. All of those people just asking about my family and how I grew up, and I had people saying, "Oh, if we would have known, this would have never happened. We would have kept you. You would have been ours." I'm like, "Well, no, I like my family." And so that all of that conversation made it very difficult.
It's really hard to explain those things, and there's never a good time. And
no,
and so were you staying at her house?
Yes, we stayed at her house.
Okay, so you didn't have any space. And are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I can be at times. It depends on the situation. If I'm at home and I'm comfortable, I'm fine. And I have my husband. Our son went with us, our littlest one. My oldest 2 were with their dad, so that was hard on me too. But yeah, it was so overcrowded.
Mm-hmm. Too much too soon kind of thing.
Yes.
So you said at the beginning you guys were talking every day. How has that settled out now? How much do you communicate?
Honestly, we talk maybe once a month. I haven't talked to my sister since June. My husband actually talks to my brother often. They talk a lot. They have a lot in common. I don't have a lot in common with either of them, but he seems to. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I talked to your brother today." I'm just like, "Oh, okay." That's nice. I don't really know what to say. I still have a lot of back and forth feelings with the whole situation because I found out some more stuff by talking to other family members. And so it's kind of like reopening all these wounds again. I don't really make an effort, and she doesn't really make an effort either. A lot of times I don't know where I stand with her. I've backed off for the most part because I just don't want to get in her way. I think that I don't know that she was ever ready to open this closet full of skeletons. It's no easy way to put it, but that's what it is.
And you said earlier there's the social media aspect to it, your public search and
yes,
all the media coverage. And
she was not a fan of that at all. She didn't want her name, and I respect this. She didn't want her name released. She didn't want any family members to know. My family, some of them had shared the post. Some of them had actually seen it, and they had no idea. So I'm not sure if that made it a little harder. She just wanted to tell people on her terms, and I got that. I completely understood that, and that was fine with me. But it being so public and people asking so many questions on us doing these news outlets and these journalists writing and radio shows, and then I didn't realize it was such a big issue until I mentioned the Steve Harvey show. We had gotten invited onto it. And we had gotten onto another talk show, and I had mentioned it in passing to her, and she completely lost it. And at that point, it was either, continue on doing these shows or, salvage, what could be.
Were you doing some interviews just kind of on your own, and then she got invited on?
Well, for the Steve Harvey show, they wanted us all on. And at first, it was just going to be my mom and I. We were going to fly out to Chicago. And after a few days, my birth mother said, okay, well, I'm not going to go on the show with you, but I'll meet you in Chicago because it's only a 3-hour drive from Michigan. And we said, okay. And I got to thinking about it, and they really pressured me. They're like, oh, well, can't you just share me her information? Let's get in touch with her. Let's try to talk to her. And I said, no. And there was some personal boundaries, and they just weren't willing to work with that.
Oh, well, sure. The producers of the show, they want the drama. Like,
oh yeah.
That's the thing, right? People love the search and reunion. It's like this fairy tale kind of thing. It has a huge effect on everyone's lives. And for her, I mean, oh my goodness, she had to tell everyone that she knew about you.
Oh, yes.
And then to go public, even, oh my goodness. What are your feelings about the media coverage that you received?
Honestly, I was thankful for it because I couldn't have ever done this without that coverage. I don't think that I would have had the heart to complete it. And as far as the negative comments that I received and the negative emails, there were some really bitter people, but I wasn't going to let them knock me down. It fueled me a little more, and it helped me go a little longer. And then 44 days, we were able to complete it. I mean, complete strangers. Like I said, I'm so thankful for those people that helped me, because without those people and without that encouragement, I mean, some days I woke up and I said, why am I doing this? I don't have the energy to do this. Like, it could have taken years for her to ever see that. And by then I would have moved on. I was ready to move on at that point too. But I've made great friends out of it, and I've helped other adoptees. I have a friend who actually did the same exact thing after me, and he was able to find his birth mother too.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that had I not done it, he wouldn't have had the courage to do it either.
I see those posts almost every day, and I always think, really, how is this going to find anyone? I don't understand, but it's amazing to hear that it actually did. But also, how unfair is it that you have to broadcast your public information just to find someone that you're biologically connected to?
I think it's
disturbing.
Absolutely ridiculous. No legislator, no judge should ever sign a piece of paper to keep me from my own health history. And having 3 kids of my own, like, I have a daughter, and I didn't know if breast cancer runs in my family, and I would hate to, find out when it's too late. Or, my son has a skin condition, and we found out that it runs through my mother's side of the family. My brother has it, my mother has it, her father had it, and she was able to give us tips. And I mean, you have these people that don't know you from Adam filing your papers and stamping them goodbye pretty much. I don't agree with it, and it's not right. And I will advocate to the end of the day to, unseal those records, at least for health.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't agree with you more. It's archaic. I don't get it. Anyway, preaching to the choir. Did you ever think about doing DNA testing or searching in any other way?
I had an attorney that I paid in Indiana to unseal my records, actually. And that Friday morning, she emailed me and said, I have your records. I'm going to open them and call you on Monday. And that Sunday is when I got the email from my birth mother. So fate really knows its way around. So she called me and I gave her the news on Monday, and I had decided, she asked me if I was going to do DNA testing, and she seemed very confident that this was her. Just, she couldn't legally tell me, but in so many words, she gave me that it's okay to move on now. You have your information. But after seeing my mother and just looking at her, I don't need DNA.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things.
Yeah, I totally get that. What I meant was, prior to doing your public search, it's a lot more accessible and affordable now. A few years ago, it really wasn't. So, yeah.
I hadn't heard about it until I started doing my search, and, I didn't have a lot of information. I had a total of, I think, 5 facts. So when I had put my information out there, a lot of people emailed me about doing DNA, and had this failed, that was my next step.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever considered looking for your biofather, or have you?
I have thought about it for a long time, even more after meeting my birth mother. And I got pretty close to someone. The fact of, or the idea of him being this person. I did research it this year, or lately I've been researching. I've been given some information by another aunt that there was a man in high school that my birth mother dated. After high school and after their relationship, she quickly moved to another state and dropped everything. And that was the time that she had me. I was given a name, and I researched this name through Google. I didn't find anything. So I recently took to Facebook and just typed in the name. And a woman's name popped up, and so did a young man's name. And I was looking, and I did know that he passed away this recently from cancer. And I waited about 3 months to email this woman, and I had a feeling it was his wife, but I wasn't 100% sure. And we got to talking, and I didn't want to disrupt her life, and I made that very clear that I was just looking for information. And that's when I found out that he passed so recently. And she knows my family name, and she knew everyone in my family except my birth mother. She hadn't heard about her yet. And my name is my birth name is very big in the town, and it's a very small town. But she had offered to do DNA testing, and over the past month or two, I've just decided I just needed to back off because, I didn't want to tarnish any memory they had of him. And that's such a hard time for them still, even a year after that happens. It's still hard. And she has a son, and they said that if and when I was ever ready, that they would do DNA testing with the son. But at this point, I've kind of backed off of it just to let them have their memories. And, maybe I could find a little bit more information, but my birth mother is not willing to share any at this time.
Did you actually ask her?
I have asked her.
Whoa, you're brave.
I was asking it all.
Lots of us just don't even get the courage up to do that.
Absolutely not. We were sitting on my couch the weekend we met, and I said, "Who is my birth father?" And she looked like a deer in headlights. But I wasn't going to hold back. You kept me a secret for 28 years. I think that I just got some encouragement that day. I was ready for some answers. And her response was, "I don't know." And I do know that she does know. And she claims that it's just a deep, buried secret. I just think that it's someone that she doesn't want to hurt, or it may have been someone that may have been married, is my thought. And my aunt and I have lots of thoughts about it. There is the one aunt that I talked to about everything, and we've grown pretty close. And she helps me try and hint around to my birth mother but we've kind of like gotten nowhere yet. But yeah, I was more than willing to ask her all the dirty questions.
Good for you. It's your right to know, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really hard thing in our reunion is I do feel that she does have information that she's not willing to share, and it's something that I either have to deal with and move on from or push a little harder. But I fear that the harder I push, the more tangled our relationship will become. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I'm not sure what I want to do with yet.
Mm-hmm. What's the idealized picture of a reunion for you with your birth mom and with your siblings? What would that look like?
When I was growing up, my brother and I always talk about this. I had this figment in my head that it was going to be this wonderful woman, and she was just going to still be married to my birth father, and, you know, we were just going to have this amazing relationship. And my brother, always growing up, was like, no, Kelley, you really need to have a real feeling that this might not happen to you. And when I was searching, I searched off and on for 8 years, and I hit brick wall after brick wall. And each time I just built this figment of an amazing woman in my head and how awesome she is. And I just didn't want to be let down. And I definitely over fantasized. I still fantasize about it. Like, what if I didn't do this? Was the figment in my head better than what I have now? So my ideal relationship would be just to be close with this person and have all my answers out in the open. But as adoptees, we know that's just probably not going to happen. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
And your adoptive parents and her, did they have a relationship at all?
They're friends on Facebook. One of the things my mom said to her when she first met my birth mother is thank you. And it's the one thing that we set out to say in the very beginning. If we got nothing else out of this search, we wanted to say thank you. My parents couldn't conceive. My mother had several miscarriages due to endometriosis later being diagnosed. So it was a really rough time for them. They waited, I think, 7 years for my brother and 5 years for me. And my mom is very, very grateful for this woman. And so I think that they have an unspoken bond with each other. I don't think they really talk, like, other than in passing on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So how have you come to balance this? You know, you have this wonderful relationship with your adoptive parents. You always wanted to know your bio mother, and it's not exactly how you pictured it. How have you balanced these two things in your mind?
With a lot of prayer and repetition, a lot of patience. Being such a big secret, my mom always reminds me that I need to be patient with her, and that, you know, in time she can come around, and that this is all still so fresh. You go from 28 years of burying this entire life behind you, and you think you're in the clear, and then here it comes creeping out. With my birth mom, I know that I need to be patient with her. And my adoptive mom has just always reminded me of that. She kind of keeps me sane. That is what keeps me sane, is my relationship with my adoptive mother. And we talk every single day, 2 to 3 times a day. And, you know, she's just been encouraging. And no matter what situation, I can talk to her about it. So that's how I've balanced it, is just a lot of faith. And, you know, even if it doesn't work out and one day her or I are ready to split ways, and, you know, at least we know we tried. And at the end of the day, I will always have my adoptive parents there.
What do you think, is there anything that your adoptive parents did differently than some other adoptees who've, you know, I don't know, I don't want to answer my own question here, but, you know, I feel like they let you, you know, feel those feelings and encourage you to reconnect and not suppress the grief that a lot of us have from that loss.
You're 100% right. Through my journey, I've met a lot of other adoptees that are terrified of their adoptive parents and that they didn't find out they were adopted until, they were teenagers and 18 and even older. And to me personally, that's shocking because having my own children, I can't imagine looking them in the face every day and lying to them. I mean, it's essentially what you're doing. I grew up in a Christian-based home, and even before my brother and I were brought home, or shortly after, my parents had a book made of adoption. It's always been laid out on the table. It is what it is. This is what you have. Never be afraid to ask a question. We will always try and help you. And that's how it's been. And that's how I was raised. Adoption it's an amazing thing in my family with what my mother went through. It's a glorified situation. And so I think I might have had it easier than a lot of adoptees that I understand. And I'm so beyond thankful for that because I've just heard the heartbreaking realities of what adoption can look like and then what I got.
How has your faith impacted your adoption journey?
That too has been a little bit of a roller coaster. With 8 years of searching off and on, you kind of get in these ruts and you're like, okay, well, is it meant to be? Is it not? And, I would pray so hard about it to just something to happen. One of these doors open. We used the company Omnitrace when I was 18 years old, and it was a nightmare. And after that, I just said, I'm giving up. This isn't what God wants. And I was angry for a long time. I was given this life, but I'm only being told part of it. I struggled a lot, with using prayer and using my relationship with God to move forward through things. But now as I'm older and I've met my birth mother, I think the timing and fate is all wrapped into one. I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough for that reality to happen. It's just all in the right timing.
I really struggle with this. How do you balance, you have a positive upbringing, you love your adoptive parents, but there's this great loss of your biology and your, genetic history and people who look like you and behave like you and all of those things. How do you reconcile that? Can you?
I don't think at any given point that you can. I think it's all a big wound and it just needs time to heal. I think it got a little harder when I was able to look these people in the face and I see the similarities. And like I said, I look at my son and I look at my daughter and they look identical to that family. That's probably the hardest part for me is even when or if she ever walks away from me, I have the two constant reminders that that's what it is. Just the biology, you're right. I don't think anyone would ever move on from it 100%. And I don't think that it's good to push it away either. I think that's something that we all need to accept. It just takes time to accept.
So what are some of the wounds that you would have felt from being an adoptee, even though you had amazing adoptive parents?
In high school, we all do that history project of, yourself and your nationality and where you came from and stuff. And, you go to the doctor and you fill that paperwork out. And I still can't fill it out because I still don't know, because the woman I know that holds all this information isn't ready to talk yet. And if she ever will be, who knows? All I get is, oh no, there's no major things, or an I don't know, or I'll have to look that up, and 6 months goes by, and I think that's still hard for me to do.
Have you done anything, any therapy, any healing things that, to heal the losses or the grief of losing your first family?
I have. I actually started therapy about a year ago. I was okay for the first year that we met. I felt like I was good. until I realized things were falling apart right in front of my face. My marriage was dissolving after I met my birth mother. And I had a lot of anxiety. A lot of feelings were being brought up. And I didn't feel like my husband understood. After we would talk on the phone, I would just feel a lot of anxiety. And I couldn't understand where it was stemming from. After our 2 visits was really hard on my marriage there too. Having spent all this time with these people and just getting to know them, and here we go again, across country, that was really hard. And I didn't feel like he understood, even though he did, and he was trying. And he brought up, maybe that you need to talk to someone. And so I did. I saw a therapist for a year, and I just quit this January. I just decided that I'm good now. Whatever happens, happens. My marriage has never been healthier. My family is happy. And I don't think a therapist will fix me. Not that, we're broken, we're adoptees, we're missing pieces of our lives, and we don't know that we'll ever get them back. But I can't have someone glue me back together either. I need to find outlets that work for me. Running is one of those outlets, and I ran for years, and I stopped after I met my birth mother. And I don't know really what it was. I really don't know why I stopped. I just thought I was okay because I met her, and that everything was going to be one big happy fairy tale. And it wasn't. So I just started running again a couple days ago, and that's been the best therapy for me. That's where I can just think about everything and then just keep going.
You look so happy when you're talking about that.
Yes.
Is there anything that we haven't covered yet, Kelley, that you want to touch on?
I want people to know that if they're thinking about searching, that they should. Don't hold back. Just keep going. If it's something that you want to do, I think that they should do it. And if they don't have the support in their life, then they hopefully can find the support in themselves to push themselves to the point where they want to be, because they're never going to be happy sitting on a sideline.
So many of us wait and wait and wait and wait until it's too late.
It's a comfort zone. Waiting, I quit off and on searching, and I was comfortable not knowing. But by not knowing, you're right, it becomes too late. And then regrets flow in. And we all say we don't regret things, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people do regret things. Mm-hmm. And I don't want a search to be something that someone ever regrets not doing. Because no matter the turnout, if it's ugly or if it's good, you know that you were a strong enough person to go through it. And at the end of the day, you have yourself. You're strong enough to do it. You're strong enough to push past it, and you were a good person to do it.
Thank you. Let's do recommended resources. Okay. My recommended resource today, I'm super excited about because she calls herself my number one fan, and I just have to laugh about that. Anne Heffron. I don't know if you've heard of her, Kelley. She wrote the memoir, You Don't Look Adopted.
Oh my gosh, I haven't.
Yeah, it's, she actually sent it to me a few months ago after listening to the podcast, and basically she's fallen in love with the podcast. So thank you, Anne. Love you. And, I haven't actually finished the memoir because it's written in a very different style. Sometimes it's just some inner thoughts she's having, and sometimes it's a memory. It's very interesting, but it's very deep, and I just can't read it quickly. I read, a few pages at a time, and I'm like, whoa, I got a lot of stuff to think about here. So she's very candid about her history in the book. There's lots of ups and downs. I would say that she's brutally honest. And she shares about random feelings sometimes that adoptees have. She writes this part about believing that you came from nowhere and how that can affect you sometimes. And there's this little section I want to read to you. It's called 4 in 1. I was 4 people jammed into one. I was the me that my mom wanted. I was the me I would have been if my birth mom had kept me. I was the me I would have been if another family had adopted me. And I was the me that was just me. I couldn't commit to one, and so I was a little bit of all 4, and this made me unpredictable and unknowable, both to those around me and to myself. So that's a little section of the book. You know, you read that short little thing and I'm like, whoa, I got to think about that for a while. She also blogs regularly at annheffron.com. I'll have links to the blog and her book and everything in the show notes for this episode. But I'm super excited because Anne agreed to giving away a copy of her book. I'll let you all know how you can enter that at the end of the show. And, sorry, I have all this stuff because she's so excited. I am too. She's lovely. I just asked her before we were recording, I messaged her and I said, so is there anything you want us to know about your book or your blog? I said, we're recording tonight. And so she sent me this little note, so I want to read it for you. She writes that I thought being so honest about my feelings, and if I admitted the extent to which my body and mind seemed affected by adoption, I might actually die. I was that afraid. It was like facing a dragon, but I lived and I see that adoption's effects are even more long-reaching than I had suspected. I write with the hope that I will better understand myself, so I can come from a place of strength, and so that people touched by adoption will have a bird's eye view into the life of an adoptee, and either feel not alone or educated or supported. Any thoughts on that? You're going to check it out, right, Kelley?
Oh my gosh, is it on Amazon?
Oh, it's totally on Amazon.
I'm going to order it tomorrow morning.
Good. It's wonderful. Okay, what would you like to recommend to us today?
I love Adoptees in Recovery. The Facebook page is amazing. It's a spot where she accepts questions from adoptees or birth parents. It's really awesome to read some of the questions because they're questions that I think that we all have, and they're kind of just surfacing. But once you read them from someone else and you read the responses, I just like to soak them in. And, sometimes it's a problem that I might have inner and I didn't even realize it. So I absolutely love just going to check her webpage. Almost daily, I get on her Facebook and look at the new questions and all the answers.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is Pamela Karanova's site that you're talking about. And she was a guest in season 1, and she will be so pleased to hear that. I agree. It's a wonderful place to, and the responses are really interesting because there's the whole gamut, right? There's people that are really happy they were adopted. There's people that see the challenges in it, and you get a wide perspective on the.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I love most.
Okay, this is kind of different. I'm just interrupting because we are re-recording the second part of our recommended resources section. Just because there's been kind of an update. So Ask an Adoptee, so it's a Facebook page, and there's also the How Does It Feel to Be Adopted? Those are kind of like sister pages. Okay, so the update is Pamela Karanova started those Facebook pages. They go along with her website. She's runs a website called Adoptee in Recovery, and also How Does It Feel to Be Adopted? And she's decided to take a little break from Facebook. So I'm actually going to be running them for the next little while, Kelley. So I wanted to do like full disclosure. So but they'll carry on to be just the same as when Pamela ran them. So ask an adoptee. Like you said, people can ask questions. So this one is the one that Pamela built for non-adoptees to ask adoptees questions. So adoptive parents or bio family can message the page privately, and then we will post the question anonymously. But then in the comment section, only adoptees are allowed to answer and give their opinions. Secondly, the how does it feel to be adopted page. So that's one where adoptees can just share their experiences and stories. And that goes along with Pamela's website, where she has a giant collection of adoptees who have sent her blog posts and just sharing their story. Maybe it's their whole adoption story. Maybe it's just a piece of their reunion journey or their search. Have you seen that page at all, Kelley?
I did. I actually wrote a blog for her.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wonderful. Can we link to that in the show notes? Would that be okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you're a really big fan of these pages. Is moderating the comments maybe something that you would be interested in doing? Helping a little bit?
Absolutely.
Oh, that would be so fun. Okay, so you're going to get Kelley and I together to steward these pages for Pamela as she's on her Facebook fast. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope we get lots of questions. So if you guys have a question and you want to send them in, you can message us on either of those pages, or you can find us online and we can, or you can find us wherever. Twitter. You're not on Twitter. You're on Instagram. And
no, I can't figure Twitter out.
Okay. Well, where can we find you, Kelley?
You can find me at Kelley Baumgartner at Facebook, or on Instagram as KelleyMarie87.
Awesome. Well, I will put those links in the show notes as well so people can follow you. And thank you so, so much for your time. It was such an honor to be able to share your story with our listeners. And I know that people are going to get great insight and value from hearing it.
Yes, it was great. Thank you.
Isn't Kelley great? She is such a delight. Okay, it's giveaway time. I am doing a quick listener survey to find out more about you, and that will help me tailor the show exactly towards the things that you would like to hear. So you can find us on adopteeson.com/survey, and when you complete it, you will be entered to win a trio of recommended resources. Anne Heffron's book, You Don't Look Adopted, that Kelley and I just chatted about. And then from season 1, episode 7, we interviewed Mariana King. So she's going to give us a copy of her book, Bastards. And season 1, episode 9, Liz Story's book, A Series of Extreme Decisions, An Adoptee's Story. The only caveat is only the first 100 of you to complete the survey can enter to win these awesome books. So go right away to adopteeson.com/survey. What about the secret Facebook group I was talking about in the intro? I want to be able to bring you more content, more ways to interact with me and the guests we hear from, but I wanted it to be in a private and safe space for you. If you love the show and want to join me in building this adoptee community, I would be honored if you would partner with me. There's some amazing rewards in it for you, like access to that secret Facebook group. Adopteeson.com/partner has all the details. And if you have questions about it, just send me a note on the adopteeson.com website. Go to adopteeson.com/partner for the details. My very last thing for today. Would you tell just one person about Adoptees On? Maybe the next person you see share an adoptee holding up a poster on social media. They might like to hear about Kelley's experience. Thank you so much. And thanks for listening. Let's talk again soon. How about next Friday? Okay, Isaiah, can you say adopteeson.com?
Adopteeson.com/survey. You can win free books.
And
Adopteeson.com/partner.
Buy my money
coffee.
Thanks, buddy.
Let's talk again next Friday.